Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Young Leading Leadership. And this time we're going to be having Mr. David. And I really do admire him very much because he's a young man and then he's written a book which I like. And we have a lot of people reading the book now. So we're going to have Mr. David. And okay, I'm going to send him. Okay, send him an invite now. Okay. So we're going to send him an invite now. Ready for him to join us, and he'll be speaking on developing a problem-solving mentality. And I believe this is a topic that every young person should have at heart because it's something that actually helps humanity get better. So when we have an issue, we do not just think or feel we have issues, but we find solutions to those issues. So that's one of the reasons why. So it's like a mindset. It's not something that you come. It's something that you actually create. So it doesn't. So most people are not born with the mindset of solving problems. It's something that is cultivated. So just like nobody came to see corn, everybody has cultivated. So no, you don't come to hurt and then you find corn already in place. Someone did cultivate it. So majority of the invention of men that we've seen were a result of the fact that they all had hearts to actually become solutions to problems. Okay, Mr. David has joined us now. Okay. What's up?
The miracle.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Miracle.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks very much for accepting this invitation. I'm very grateful.
No, it's my pleasure to be here.
Very, very grateful. So, like a tradition, I'm going to introduce you and then we'll start. Okay, so Mr. David is a trained management consultant with 15 years experience working with consulting and project environment. He's a bachelor's degree holder in mechanical engineering, a certified project management, competent communicator, and a certified John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. Using his rare creativity, Mr. David has been instrumental to the growth of multiple successful businesses from scratch and coached dozens of others over the past decades. In his consultancy work, has cut across different sectors, including aviation, oil, gas, agriculture, and the public service. Notably, his process improvement initiative have been utilized and adopted as a standard on various projects he has executed, especially in the oil and gas industry. During this period, he's also worked with a team of experts to successfully deliver several multi-million-dollar projects for major independent oil companies like Chevron, Shell. David currently serves as a sales and marketing executive for a leading company in the oil and gas sector while providing business consultancy services for a niche clientele. David has also has an undeniable strong passion for youth and personal development and actively supports various NGOs. He's just authored a new book known as The Success Soul Shake, and currently lives with his wife and 2 children in Lagos State, Nigeria. That is Mr. David. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for that introduction, Miracle. Do I have the screen now?
Yeah, it's yours. It's yours.
Wow, thank you. Well done. I am indeed proud of what you're doing with this Distinct Leadership series. I've been following speaker after speaker. It looks like we're doing this every week, isn't that?
Yeah.
So we're going to have 52 of this by the end of the year.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can see my best friend is on the call as well. I can see one of my proteges. I can see Atoye Biolawale on the call as well. It's a beautiful evening in Lagos, where I'm broadcasting from. You know, the joke in Lagos now is we don't know whether it's Harmattan or it's rainy season. A little Harmattan here, and then a little rain. A little Harmattan. We don't just know what's going on. But in any case, what we're discussing today is very profound. Indeed, you cannot talk about leadership without talking about your ability to solve problems. And when I thought about this afternoon, I thought about what we had to share with people one of the things that came hurriedly to my mind was the second creed in the personal creed shared by our mentor, our father, Peladro Toye. That statement, the number 2 in that creed said, I will be a solution provider and not a part of the problem to be solved. That's a personal creed. If you will be a leader, if you would be successful at anything that you do, no matter what it is, what sector it is, whatever country it is, no matter what tribe you're from, your race, your religion, your inclination, you need to have a problem-solving mindset. And that's why this is extremely important. In fact, I remember a few years ago, I was working with a ministry in Port Harcourt, and a pastor used to say to us then, he would say, if if I have to do the job for you, then I don't need you. All right? I don't need you. The reason you are here is to solve problems for me. If you're not solving problems, then don't just create problems and just leave. That's why it's extremely important for every youth, every adult. If each and every one of us, we go about our work saying, how can I creatively solve problems? I believe that we will make our space better. I believe that we'll make people around us better as well, because we will rub off on them. And all of this I would share in a stepwise format. I've looked at this and said, you know, we can do 4 Ds. There are 4 Ds.
My mentor's just joined, so let's acknowledge him. Dr. Soji, thank you very much for joining, sir. Thanks so much for joining. Okay.
Welcome, sir. And if we just do these 4 Ds, we will make a difference. We will help ourselves create that kind of problem-solving mindset. But at the bottom of this, before I share what these 4 Ds are, at the base of these 4 Ds, we have what we call the PMA. The PMA is not new. I can't even remember or recall the original proponent of the PMA, and that is the positive mental attitude. You cannot, and I say cannot carefully, you cannot be a problem solver if you don't have a positive mental attitude. We live in a society where once people see a problem, they say, we can't do it. It can't be done. And just yesterday, I was with one of my mentors in his house, and he was telling me about his challenge with artisans. He just moved house, and he's trying to fix a sliding glass in his house. And every person that comes there says, sir, this thing is spoiled. You have to buy a new one. And he said, no, it's just a part we need to fix. But realize that if all you have is a hammer, everything will feel like what? Like a nail. Because we are wired. Most people are wired to see problems as things they need to change, not creatively solve. They cannot solve the problems. So we need to start with the positive mental attitude. The positive mental attitude that says when you see a problem, you do these 4 Ds. But it starts with that positive mental attitude. Being open, being able to understand that problems are solved through perspectives. You solve problems through perspectives. And perspectives really indeed are the difference between the number 1 guy in every company and every other person. Is the way he sees things. If you don't change the way you see, you will continue to struggle. You will, and not only change the way you see, understand that not everyone sees what you see.
Wow.
If you understand that not everyone is seeing what I'm seeing, your ability to solve problems creatively would improve significantly. And so what are these 4 Ds that I'm going to go talking about today? And to lay a foundation, I realize that youths, adults, all of us alike, we have different challenges, different problems we need to solve in our workplace, around our health, around our academics, around our finances. I remember this conversation one day. I was in a seminar style meeting, and the gentleman that was preaching or speaking on the day, I believe it was Reverend Tarek here, he said to a gentleman, what do you need right now? Listen to this. The guy says, I need a job. And then Rosary says to him, is it a job that you need or a source of income? And the guy leans back and says, I need a job. He says, no, think again. Is it a job you need? If you get a source of income right now, would you be fine? And the guy says, actually, what I need is a source of income. So if a job is not forthcoming, you have to create a source of income. It is that creating mentality rather than a consuming mentality that would help you become a problem solver. What am I creating? What am I creating? When you think like a creator, you get creative.
Wow.
Now, I'm not trying to rhyme. I'm not trying to rhyme. Think about it. When you think like a creator, you get creative. Realize that there's a difference between creation and creative. Okay? Two people can make something. They can make a creation and not be creative about it. But for you to solve problems, you have to be creative. You have to think through the angles. You have to think through perspectives, think through dimensions. It's not just like, I'm an African man, very traditional man. Do you know that? And one of the proverbs where I'm from says that there's no one route to the market. It's not just one way to the market. When you understand that this problem that I have is not just one way to solve it, okay? When you understand that there are several ways you can solve one problem, that is where you begin to elevate your problem-solving capacity and capability. Now, having said all of that, let me now delve into the 4 Ds that I was going to propose to you when it comes to problem solving. And by the way, what I've said, if you're just joining, what I've said is before you can be a problem solver, you must have a positive mental attitude. You must be the kind of person who is an incurable optimist. You must be the kind of person who sees things through different angles. You must think through perspectives. Someone says, I don't know how to be a problem solver. No, it's not that you don't know. You are just, in quote, refusing to think through perspectives, to think through options. Okay? And that's what will be embedded in the 4 Ds that I'm about to share with you. It's about ensuring that we use the right language. You hear people say, I don't have a problem, I have a challenge. When you think about problems, someone said many years ago, now I don't remember the person that said this, you can Google it. It says, problems are just opportunities that come in work clothes, right? They're just wearing coveralls. So, you know, it's opportunity, but it comes in work clothes. So it looks like a problem. Let's go into the 4 Ds now. 4 Ds that can help you solve problems more creatively. I like to deal with foundational stuff. I love to do with fun because it's all principle based. It all starts with first principle. When we were in the university many years ago, the problem a few of us had with our studies was that we used to cram. We didn't understand the principle. And when you cram, once the thing you crammed flies away, you cannot solve the problem because you don't understand the first principle. That's why the first D today is define. Define the problem. Anytime you are faced with a problem, I don't really care whether it's in your health, whether it's with your academics, whether it's with your performance at work, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your finances, define the problem. And when I say define, you define it in clear terms. You articulate it properly. What is this problem? When you are defining a problem and you define it wrongly, you will obviously solve it wrongly. You will not be able to solve it because you are defining the wrong problem. Wow. Someone said you are treating the symptoms rather than the problem. Someone has a headache. He has used a particular drug and is not effective. And he's telling you, I need to buy another drug. I need to change my drug. Is that your problem? Your problem is the headache. Your problem is the headache. You need to fix the cause of the headache. So define your problem clearly. What is the problem? In clear terms, understand what your problem is. After you've defined the problem, you move to the next D, which I consider the core of what we need to do as problem solvers. Determine the root cause. When you are solving a problem, because of my background in oil and gas and working offshore, I worked with the safety department at some point, and there is such a thing called the root cause analysis. There's such a thing called the 5 whys. You also have the why tree. Someone listening to this might wonder, what does 5 why mean? What does why tree mean? Let me help you understand. We have a problem here. The top event is the car skidded off the runway. The car skidded off the motorway and landed in a ditch. The car had an accident. To solve that problem, the first question you ask is, why did the car skid off the motorway? When you answer the question, let's even say that the answer is the driver was distracted. The next question is, why was the driver distracted? Then you probably find out that he was thinking about home trouble. Then the next question you ask again is, why was he thinking about home trouble while driving? Then you realize again that there are layers and layers of other problems that led to the accident. Sometimes it might be that you ask the question, why did the car skid off the motorway? The brake failed. Why did the brake fail? The car was due for servicing, it wasn't serviced. Why wasn't the car serviced? The car wasn't serviced because the man was too busy using the car as a boat Tactify, whatever. Why was he too busy with that? Because he had too many bills piled up and he had to meet up his bills. Why did it? So you keep asking why, until you get to a place where you can say, this is the root cause of this event. When you deal with the root cause, when you determine, now, you need to determine the root cause before you can deal with the problem. You need to determine the root cause before you can deal with the problem. So problem solving, as it were, starts, like I said, with defining the problem, determining the root cause. It is when you determine the root cause, but you don't yet deal with it. Before you deal with it, you articulate this root cause as a standalone. Now, this is a process that sometimes requires you to have other people engaged. Not something that you just come about and say on your own. When you do investigation, accident investigation, when you do problem solving, it's important that there is some form of collaboration. You must learn to collaborate with people. Why? Because you think differently. Creative problem solvers, there's such a thing called brainstorming. When you sit down to discuss 5 whys or why tree or any of these problem solving methodologies, you don't do that on your own. You get in a room with other professionals and then you start to rub minds. The thought that you alone can come up with a solution so strong to a huge problem is a problem. A problem solver, apart from being a creator. Now, I know that this is not a religious, in quote, IG Live. However, my mind goes back, because I have my inclination of faith, right? You know, my mind goes back to the creation story. And do you realize that when man was to be made. Do you remember the statement that was made? He said, now let what? Now let us. Let us. Some things require more than one. You hear things like one will put to flight 1,000, two will put to flight 10,000. Your mind alone may not be sufficient to solve problems. You need to always ask people, what do you think? And the process of inquiring or digging deep into a problem I can do this on my own. No, you are thinking with a group of think tanks. Did you lose me for a second?
Yeah, but I got it.
Okay, so we're back now.
Yeah.
It's about getting together with a group of think tanks and say, let us determine what are the what ifs about this. So it's all down to your mindset. Someone who is a solo thinker, who thinks that you can always go on your own, your ability to solve problems would be significantly impacted because you are not willing to collaborate. As a creator, you are also a collaborator. Problem solving requires collaboration. And that is the process of doing these 5 whys. You can Google it, look at the methodology, this why tree. It's a collaborative process. Not one person doesn't sit down and determine 5 whys. You think, you engage. And then when you move from that point where you've determined the root cause, then the next thing is you need to come up with recommendations. How do you avoid, how do you deal with the problem? How do you avoid this problem reoccurring? And that's the D that I call discover the alternatives. So you've done define, you've done determine root cause. Now you need to discover the options available, discover the solution. You will not be able to discover a solution to a problem you've not defined and determined the root cause. You will, let me say that again in case somebody wants to tell their cousin, you will not be able to discover the solution to a problem that you have not defined and determined the root cause. Like I said earlier, if your definition of the problem is wrong, it means everything you do under there is going to be wrong. And your definition of the problem will always be wrong if your mindset is skewed. If you have a negative mindset, you don't have a positive mental attitude, you will always define the problem wrongly. So there you have, discover the alternatives. There are always multiple ways to solve a problem. What part? For instance, there's the case of someone who has issues with performance at work. As a leader, you have a problem with that staff. As a young entrepreneur, you have a bunch of staff who are not cutting it. The first thing that comes to mind is what? Miracle, there's a word that is very strong that we always use. Immediately there's performance issues. What is it? Fire. Fire him. Fire her. Fire her. But that is not problem solving. That isn't problem solving. Problem solving is trying to first define the problem. It's a performance issue. Why is this person underperforming? Is this person under pressure due to other deliverables? Is this person underskilled? You cannot ask a fish to climb a tree and then say the fish is fired. The fish will never climb the tree. Never. Not in 1,000 years. So it's important for you to understand what you're dealing with. This performance issue, how do we deal with it? Then you begin to take options, doing a root cause analysis. Is it because the person doesn't have the skill? Is it because the person is overworked? Is it because the person has a terrible boss? Is it because the person has family issues. There are so many things that could be the problem. Once you take away the root cause, the problem goes away. Look, once you turn off the light, once you cut off, the problem, the light comes on. Once you flip the switch, the problem goes away. You need to flip the switch. Flip the switch. You need to understand. For that employee that is underperforming, all you needed to do was simply take away the problem at the base of it. And then what you perceive to be the top event will go away. So creative problem solving, for instance, for someone who is struggling to have enough balance in their pocket, your account balance is insufficient funds all the time. Insufficient funds. You want to withdraw, it's insufficient funds. The problem is not the bank. The problem is your ability to generate income. What value are you creating? So the problem is not Nigeria. Okay? The problem is not your village people. People want to always ascribe greatness to village people that don't even know anything. They don't even know about the problem. You're just inviting them to, in Nigeria, when you say village people, those are those that are charming you, right? The voodoo. Don't ascribe so much to things that don't even exist. You need to first calm down and say, for instance, my problem is insufficient funds. Am I creating enough value? Am I being of service? Am I being visible? When you ask questions, I always recommend the book Good Leaders Ask Great Questions by John Maxwell, right? When you question everything I'm telling you, remember I say the 5 whys, they are questions. And critical thinking, creative problem solving comes with the ability to ask questions. We have killed this in people from a young age. I can see Former says are village people. It's not your village people. It's not your village people. No matter what the problem is, it's not the village people. Someone is having issues, basic issues at work, and you start thinking all kinds of things. Deal with the root cause. Deal with the root cause. Then come up with options. Should we, for instance, people are late to work. Why are people being late to work? Is it because we don't have a staff bus? Is it because there's traffic? Is it because they're not motivated? Is it because they don't understand the importance of timeliness? When we deal with the base issue, then we come up with options. We say, what if you come to work early every day of the month and you get a bonus? You compare what you're losing with what you want to trade off. There is always a trade-off. And now I'm taking it to a different dimension, but there's always a trade-off. There is always a trade-off. When you are critically thinking through the angles, you'll be able to come up with the options for you, or for your boss, or for your organization that will solve the problem. That's why we say, come up with alternatives. Discover the options. And then when you've discovered the options, then you can begin to say, now let us deploy. See, it is possible for you to have, so that's the final D, deploy. And deploy can also be deal with the problem. You cannot deal with a problem that you've not defined, that you've not determined the root cause, that you've not discussed or discovered the alternatives. You will not be able to deal with the problem or deploy any solutions. Deploying a solution to that problem will now come as a result of best fit. If you look at the problem you're facing, now I'm trying to think of, maybe someone has performance issues at work. I keep going to performance issues at work. I don't know why. And the the solution that you have, the options you have, include send the staff on training, put the staff on probation, have a one-on-one conversation with the staff. It's not just to fire the staff. So problem solve, you deal, maybe the staff is just lacking confidence, maybe just basic confidence. You need to have a conversation with the staff, and you realize that the person's performance just shoots up. Thinking through, so you think through it, say, okay, maybe I have a conversation with him, maybe I send him on training. You try a multifaceted approach to deal with the problem, and then you get the result. So developing that sort of problem-solving ability is something that you now need to rinse and repeat, do over and over. Problem with health, you define, you determine root cause, you discover alternatives, you deploy. When you deploy, then you are able to then weigh the result you get, look at it and say, okay, is this result effective? It's not effective. You go back. I wish you could project slides here. You go back again to the alternatives. You pick an alternative, deploy again. Does it deal with the problem? It doesn't. But you cannot do all this if the problem is not well defined, if you've not determined the root cause. That is where it all starts. And it comes with questions. You need to be so inquisitive. Ask questions. Don't have a predetermined mindset. Don't be prejudiced. People who have issues with problem solving the most, they're prejudiced people. They already have the solution to the problem. And the solution to this problem is that there's no solution. That's their solution to the problem. Once you tell them there's a problem, the solution is that there's no problem, there's no solution. they don't have a solution, a predetermined answer. You call them. I don't know, Miracle, if you drive around, you go to some mechanic, some auto workshops. Once they look at your car, this car, it cannot work. No, and listen, the problem here sometimes, really, let me help you. The problem sometimes is a knowledge problem because they don't know the principle behind it. You cannot creatively solve a problem. Principles. That is why we must always go from first principles. I remember a day I was driving on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Nigeria, and my car got a fault. Too bad. How do we fix this problem? I pull up to a gas station. They tell me, sir, there's nobody that can fix this car here. You have to go back to Lagos. By this time, I was about 42 kilometers out. I said to myself, I'm going to rough it and get back to Lagos. Halfway through, 20 kilometers back, trying to head back to Lagos, the car grinds to a halt. Not going to move again. So I was stuck. Make matters worse, I think I had family in the car. Wow. What do I do? Luckily for me, can you hear me, Miracle?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, great. So I roll up, this guy rolls up to my car, chubby guy, you know, with his white singlet, looking all dirty, stained with engine oil. I said, "Oh, God, what's the problem?" I explained to him. I said, my car wouldn't start. It's making funny noises. The guy says, this problem. And by this time, he was speaking to me in Yoruba language. He says, 2 days, minimum 2 days before you can solve this problem. Now, I don't have a problem with the 2 days. I ask him, so what is the problem that we're solving? The guy says, this is my work. I'm telling you, this is my work. This is my work. It will take 2 days. I said, bro, what is the problem? Okay, it will take 2 days. He said, I just want to assist you. See, first you need to deposit 100,000 naira, then I will help you. I said, but okay, no problem. I'm stuck here. What is the problem? He says, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be helped. That when I'm ready, I should come across the road and call him. because I wasn't getting the vibe from him, I said, you know what? I don't understand the problem you want to solve. Go away. So the guy bounces up and says, I'll come and meet him. Luckily for me, my mechanic that I use in Lagos, one of his staff was rolling by the Lagos Port Expressway and he stopped.
Wow. Wow.
I looked at the car and said, this problem, wow, so sad. He just went underneath, closed a valve that was leaking, and then started the car, put in water, and said, it's going to be fine now, we should drive it to Lagos. I said, is that all? It took him less than 5 minutes to fix a problem that the mechanic told me would take minimum 100,000 and 2 days. It took him less than 5 minutes. And you realize that there's a competency gap. There is a competency gap. So when you are lacking in competence, you are not creative, and you don't collaborate, you cannot be a problem solver. Let me say that again. When you are lacking in competence, refusing to collaborate, and not being creative, you cannot be a problem solver. So in other words, to be a problem solver, to have the problem solving attitude, you must be creative. You must be someone who collaborates. You must be a critical thinker. All right? And you must be competent. So closing those gaps would help you improve your problem solving ability. I don't know how many minutes I have, but I think I've used about I've used about 30 minutes.
Okay. No, it's on point actually. It's on point. So I think maybe for those who want to ask questions, so you could start dropping your question while Mr. David.
Yes, I can see that Atoebi has put a summary, fantastic summary on the group. Oh, and I have Makosi here as well. Oh, wow. I have great people here listening to the call. So that's the 4 Ds you must understand when you want to be a problem solver. Thank you for that, Atoebi. Define the problem in clear terms. Determine the root cause of the problem. Discover the options available, and then you deal with the problem. You cannot skip the process. In fact, it's good that I can see Makosi here. I saw on a page a few days ago that, now I hope I'm sure about this, that some people want to get the 40 status even though they're 23. They want to skip the process. And I'm saying this, Makosi can relate to this. You cannot skip the process. You cannot skip the process. Problem solving is something that you get better at. Like I said, you rinse and repeat over time, over and over. You're getting better at it. You are using the principle-based approach. This life we live, this earth where we live, is principle-driven. If you jump from a 3-story building, you will fall down. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short, if you're pretty or ugly, if you're from if you're from Ghana or from Nigeria. It doesn't matter if you jump from if you jump from a 3-story building, you're going to fall down like Humpty Dumpty. Is guaranteed. Okay? Principles. So to be a problem solver, to have that mindset, we said when we started today, and I'm doing a final recap now so I can take questions. To summarize everything I've said, we said at the base of everything that we're doing, there must be a positive mental attitude. There must be a positive mental attitude so that you can creatively jump at the problem. And I spoke about 4 Ds that you need to do. And thank you, Atoebi, once again, for putting that together. I said you need to define the problem.
Let me pin that.
You'd have to define the problem. You'd have to determine the root cause of the problem. You'd have to then go to discover the options available to you. By the way, I said when you're determining the root cause, try to use techniques like the 5 whys, the why trees. You can Google them and use them. One of my colleagues on the call, Toba, would understand what a why tree is, because we use that a lot in the oil and gas industry for accident investigation, or investigation into any kind of failure. And then I said, when you discover the options available to you, then you can deploy these options to deal with the problem. And I also said, finally, that for you to really be a problem solver, you need to be creative, you need to learn to collaborate, and you need to, there's one more C, that one keeps flying away. I said you need to be creative, You need to learn to collaborate. Someone needs to help me with the last C because it just flew off my head now. And I'm going to remember. So I said there were 3 C's that you needed to be good at. You need to be competent as well. That's the final C. So you need to close the competency gap. When you do that, you bridge that knowledge gap, you will become a better problem solver. You cannot solve a problem you don't know. You don't know about it, you want to solve it. That's even more problem. Thank you, Toyibi. So it's creativity, collaboration, and competence coupled. When you couple those 3 C's with these 4 D's, you are a 7-star problem solver. Doesn't that sound good? 3 plus 4 is 7. Combine the 3 C's with the 4 D's, you become a 7-star problem solver. 7, yes. That's what you become. Perfect. And so that's what I have for you. I wouldn't want to belabor the subject. If there are any questions, I'll take them now.
Wow. You know, one of my mentor actually here, I think my mentor, okay, Mr. Soji was actually here throughout, and I was actually very shocked that Mr. Soji was actually here all through. Like Mr. Soji is like the wife is actually like a friend to Bankole Williams. So I'm surprised, like he was actually here. It means that there's a lot he's actually saying right now. For him to have actually stayed all through. Thanks very much, sir, for joining. Thanks so much, sir, for joining. And there's something which I actually learned from here, and I actually want to say it again. He said, when you think like a creator, you get creative. I don't know, but that stuff really meant something different to me. So my question here is this. Mr. David, now there are a lot of things going on in the political sector right now in Nigeria and West Africa at large. We have issues. How can we influence young people not to be complainers of the system, but to contribute to the development of the system? Because the truth is this: we can't say the system is bad because of the system. Sorry, we can't say the system is bad because of the system benefited in the past, but I think it needed some upgrading. So how can we influence young people at this stage of our life to actually become creative thinkers? Like, how can we, because the truth is this, we have these things and most people do not know these things. Now, how can we actually collaborate with these people, for those who lack knowledge of these things? How can we actually get to them?
Okay. I'm going to rephrase the question or repeat the question to be sure I heard you right. You're asking how we can influence young people to participate in solving national issues?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I like that you asked that question because one of the predominant, predominant ways that young people solve the problem of Nigeria is to leave the country. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them, right? Because if you've been beaten, if you've been battered by Nigeria, then you would always consider that as an alternative. How do you get people involved? Listen, there are many ways. Again, like I said, it's always thinking through perspectives. There are many ways young people can participate in influencing or shaping the way we address political issues or national issues. One could be to address those issues in your space. What do you think about it? By the way, if you already have a mindset that it is finished and all is finished, you cannot do anything. I always say it starts from the bottom. It starts from having a positive mental attitude about it. And the way to do this is to keep what you keep hearing. What you keep hearing determines how your heart takes shape. Determines what changes you. It's what you hear that changes you. People need to continually, people like you, Miracle, that already do this, you need to keep at it. We need to encourage more people to drop the conversation, put it out there, go on massive campaigns. You need to keep it until a point where it catches fire. Somebody will say, we've been talking, we're tired. We're tired of talking. Another way you can have that done is to come up with, for instance, the End SARS campaign that caught fire recently in Lagos, October precisely, is an example of what can be done when people come together in unity and they have one purpose. You should have clusters. You should have clusters where you belong to, where people are driving this kind of conversation. If you cannot find a cluster, there are many people that you already know their dents, the things that they stand for. People like Jimmy Tewe, you mentioned Bankole, you mentioned people like Peladro Toye, the Sam Adeyemis, Pastor Sam Adeyemi. You have people who are nationalists who think pro-Nigeria or who always want things to get better. Find a way to get in one of the hubs that they represent. And that way, you can begin to refine your thinking. And then you get involved. You get involved by speaking. You get involved by contributing, maybe monetary terms. You get involved by just sometimes getting out of the way of people that are doing this thing. Don't be a problem. That's why I said that second creed is I would be a solution provider, not a part of the problem to be solved. If you cannot solve the problem, please, please, sir, get out of the way. By getting out of the way, the more people that step out of the way, you allow people to progress. So don't drive down or don't put down those who are working. Don't distract them. If you don't have anything positive to contribute yet, don't put it down. Just be an encourager, be a supporter. So it's either you're speaking, doing the speaking, or you're doing the supporting, right? I used to be, when I did my diploma in Rema a couple of years ago, they used to have a thing about you're either going or you're paying or you're praying for those that are going. So if you are not going to the mission field, you are paying for those going to the mission field, or you are praying for those going to the mission field. So you must be doing something. You say, I can't go. Okay, you cannot go. Pay. Let's sponsor people to go. I don't have money. Okay, pray. So you must be doing something that contributes positively to the narrative. That's what we need to get young people to do. Put your $10 a month. Put your $5 a month. Say, I'm supporting this cause with $5 a month. That's what I do to feel good. So you're paying. If you cannot speak, you cannot come out like Miracle, you cannot be out there. Pay. If you cannot pay, okay, get out of the way and pray. Since we're very religious in this part of the world, I would prefer that you pray and you pay, but if you cannot do any, just pray. So, well, that's it.
Wow. Thanks so much, Mr. David. Thanks so much. So do we have any question before we allow Mr. David go? And before your question, so let's say thank you. So David, I want to say thank you so much for, I don't want to say this, but I just felt I need to say this. I want to say thank you for being a support. You know, I let me not publicly say it, but thank you for being a support to Dixon's leadership. Last year, I had feedback from people saying, oh, no, I don't know, but it was very clear. It was very clear, you know, it was short, but it was clear. And then I want to say thank you very much because a lot of people were impacted at that time. And I want to say thank you very much for being a support in my life personally. And I don't want to say that. When I lost my mom, Mr. David actually was a great support to me. And I want to say thank you for that. At the same time, thank you very much for supporting because of sometimes you have to pay to get people to speak. And hearing things like this, you need to pay more money. And I'm not paying for this. I want to say thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. David.
My pleasure.
Well, let's say thank you. Let's say thank you. Let's say thank you. Let's say thank you. Because of right now, sometimes these things do not, those things, you might not see the result of these things now. But somehow they're like a seed. So the time it would be needed, then it's being used. It just comes out. You just say, well, I heard this thing, and then instantly it begins to work at that time. And sometimes it works instantly for people because of they found themselves in situations that actually requires these things. And I want to thank you very much for doing this. Thanks very much to Mr. Atoyibi for helping.
So we have Biola, Jojo, we have a couple of people that joined. I saw Makosi joined. I don't know if she's still there. Jerry, a couple of people, Ufoma, Wizzy, yeah. Thank you, everyone.
So this still, Memento is still here. Mrs. The son is still here. When else are we no more? Thank you for joining it. That's
That's JMT DNA. That's the
Ah.
Drum Master Team DNA right there.
Thank you for saying those. Thanks very much, sir. Thanks very much for staying. Thanks so much. Okay, so I think no questions, so we just have to excuse Mr. David. Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
David, thanks very much, sir. Thanks so much, sir. Thanks
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
So much. Okay, bye, sir.
All right.
Okay, thanks very much everyone for joining. I want to say thank you for everybody for joining. Thanks very much to Atoyi B. Thanks very much, sir. So we're going to be having the next session next Saturday, and the topic is developing a resilient attitude and character. And this is because of some weeks back I lost my mother, and I was in a state where it was very hard to continue this, but I just thank God for God's grace to continue. And then I believe it's something that we all need to learn to actually develop a resilient attitude towards life. So if life doesn't hit us and then we go down once like that, it's very important that we stand. So thanks so much for joining. I'm going to have you guys next Saturday. Thanks so much, sir.